Hello, everybody. I am the Worm, and this is Raging Loop, and things have gotten spicy. Last time, we had our third feast. I want to say third. And we had a back and forth between Kyo and Yasunaga, Kinosuke and Yasunaga, regarding whether or not it should be Kaori or Rikako who should be the target for this feast. And as things were heating up, our girl, Chammy, has decided to take a stand. She's decided to believe in Haruaki and his theories, and he's gone. She went for the jugular. She went straight for Yasunaga. Didn't even vote for Kaori. Voted for Yasunaga. And in the ensuing argument and discussion that they had, the votes eventually went for Kaori, and so she has been. She's been voted off, and we might get our first hanging for this game, which is quite something. Of course, speaking specifically about Kaori, we were able to, before the feast, restrain her before anyone was actually hurt, which was good. And for why she did it, of course, she lost Yoshitsugu, and she's been under incredible mental stress this whole time, and so obviously just being broken mentally and deciding that everyone has to die in some form of revenge for what happened to him, or just, anything like that. There's that angle, of course, but Chammy raised the possibility that Kaori could actually be a wolf herself, and it might be a mother-son team of Kaori and Yasunaga. And so not only did she go on a attempted killing spree because of her, madness from losing her son, but also it could have been for Yasunaga's sake as a wolf. This is a similar theory to what Haruaki had said for why someone may have killed the old man and Mochi. In that theory, he said it might, if it was Rikako, that could be why she's affected by corruption. So, we don't know any of this for sure. It's still speculation. If Rikako did not end up... If it ends up being the case that Rikako did not kill either Mochi or the old man, then, we're going to have to try and find out why she was corrupted in the way that she was, which has, been different from the other corruption kills thus far. Yeah, so I'm assuming we're going to be back with Haruaki. He was left to watch Kaori during this time. He wasn't locked up. So we're going to go ahead and get back into it. Seems to be going all right. Let's see what happens. I heard muffled screams and sobs from the dining hall behind me. Gagged and tied, Kaori Oribe was still wailing. She couldn't move properly and had a pole fixed to her shoulders, but I was still worried enough to check every now and then, and I think he's certainly justified to check. We saw with Rikako... we don't know if the same thing that happened with Rikako is happening to Kaori, but Rikako seemed to gain some sort of superhuman strength. Now, she wasn't able to bust out, especially after we sealed the house, but she was able to lift Haruaki with just one hand and almost choke him, and it takes some strength to choke someone. So I would be worried and check every now and then. The lack of change helped calm my nerves, but at the same time I resented myself a bit for it. Quite a bit of time had passed since the feast had begun. What kind of decision would they make? The daily wolf lynching, hanging, had failed every single time so far. Considering the number of days remaining and how many people were left, if they messed up today, the humans would lose all hope of surviving. If either Kaori Oribe or Rikako Uematsu ended up chosen, there would just be no chance anymore. Interesting. Why does he say that? I mean, technically, Kaori's out of it, even if she is a wolf, right? We have her tied up and everything like that. Maybe that's what he means, because, you know, if it's Yasunaga is the other wolf, he's gonna be free to, you know, do stuff still. I'm gonna need to hear some elaboration on that, I think. Once I saw people leaving the hall, my mouth moved on its own. Their eyes were steady. They walked in my direction. Not to me, though, but to the dining hall.
Kaori-sanを選んだのか?
I asked anyway. I was speaking to the last representative of sanity in this place, Kinosuke no Sato. We didn't even converse. His tone and the look in his eyes were different from usual. His usual arrogant pride was gone, and in its place stood a deadly determination.
Yasunaga-kun, 僕は負けました。Haru-chan!
私は嫌だって言った。
おばあさん!
親内様のおぼし飯じゃ。
Chammy!
I guess maybe Haruaki's thinking Kaori isn't a wolf. Maybe he's still on the original Yasunaga Haru theory, in which case we would be just killing another human, which would be horrible at this point.
Haruaki-san wa kono ko.
Meiko was at the rear of the group. Somewhat hesitantly, she walked up to me. I moved aside to let them pass. They all entered the dining hall and dragged out the victim. The ones holding the ropes and doing the dragging were Kinosuke Nosato and Chammy Serizawa. Following behind was Tai Yamawaki, prodding her onward with a bamboo broom.
Yamero.
As his mother cried out in pain, Yasunaga Oribe followed the group, hand in hand with Haru Makishima.
Tomero.
Haru Makishima was bawling. Yasunaga Oribe was shaking, not even trying to hide his sobs. His face was warped and anguished.
Dareka!
As the group faded away, the gag fell out, and the victim's voice grew loud. Not a scrap of reason remained, only raw terror. Or perhaps madness. Oh, please, someone, beg for her life. However, I didn't hear any pleas to the very end, and I painfully realized I wasn't participating in the feast. I wasn't part of this life selection game bound by otherworldly rules.
Miruna.
I turned Meiko away, hugged her, and covered her ears. Because of that, I couldn't cover my own. Parent-like dedication. What a weird idea. Anyway, as the group disappeared into the mist, I somewhat felt as though the screams, or laughs, grew even clearer. I was subjected to this illusion until the very end. During the final moments, the mother called out her son's name. It was the name of the elder son, and he responded by calling for his mother. But at the very last moment, it felt like the victim shouted a different name. There was a strange sound, followed by silence.
Mego.
Meiko's body was surprisingly warm. In response, she just nodded.
明日僕と一緒にここを逃げよ
She nodded again.
う植松里香子は諦めるんだ
Meiko started crying. Interesting. Now, I guess I have to say that well, I did find Chammy's arguments to be compelling. The whole mother-son team thing. But obviously, Haruaki does not feel the same. I'm not sure if he's, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not sure if he's still on the Yasunaga Haru theory, or if something else is making him feel this way. I mean, I think it's perfectly fine, to see. Personally, I wouldn't. I don't think I'd go to a hanging, and even if I was at a hanging, I don't think I'd feel good about it. So obviously that put him in a poor mood. So I don't know if it's just that, or if he... Yeah, I don't know if it's just his natural reaction to seeing an event like this, or if he honestly thinks this is a... Well, he did say, we saw his, if it goes back this far. No, it doesn't go back that far. He did say if Kaori or Rikaku end up being chosen, that's it, right? So he obviously thinks that, both being sympathetic toward her and, I guess, by the strategy of the game, that this is a mistake. So, So what does that mean for us now? I'm not sure. And obviously running away is not going to be good. We did try running away before, but when we ran away, that was just kind of a bad end, and it didn't lead to a key or anything, so... Like, in this game story, it's canon that we died once already, right? And then the whole loops thing happened, and he remembers that. But, obviously he doesn't recall the one choice where we left the town, because that didn't open up any keys or alternate routes, right? So, I guess he doesn't have... I guess we'll have to see if he actually ends up trying again. I let her go, took her by the hand, and led her to the dorm, excuse me. There I took all the remaining food I had. Then I escorted her back to her place.
鍵をかけて明日の朝僕が迎えに来るまでじっとしてるんだ
Still crying, she nodded.
これをちゃんと食べるんだぞ
I gave her some food and closed the door. Once I turned around, I saw them.
今日の宴は終わった
There wasn't a hint of emotion in his voice.
そうですか
As one who didn't participate in the feast, I was in no position to criticize or support them. They just turned around and returned to their places, leaving no indicator whether they'd actually heard me. 3 of them were headed in the same direction. I didn't feel like joining them, instead casting a glare at their backs as they walked. My powerlessness was killing me. Yeah, I'm so ready for Haruaki to actually join in on the feasts and be included in this. Again, I think I've said this several times now, but I don't know how long this game is, but I really think it could be possible that this whole sequence of events right now is just like preamble, like an example of how things could go. And then Haruaki is going to join in, and we're going to get all sorts of different decisions and things that happen. At least I'm hoping that's what happens. I don't know. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Under the assumption I would die tomorrow, I decided I would go through the mists down to Saranaga, a strict taboo here. What kind of death would that get me? Would I be injured? Wander into some other world? Something else entirely? Or perhaps I'd be eaten by a monster. I still had that incomprehensible memory, but it was enough to make me suspect that was the most likely scenario. Normally, people didn't remember dying. The unknown was scary, but journeying into the unknown meant conquering that fear. So you could say there were some perks to remembering that death. But if it was guaranteed that I would die like that, I wasn't really keen on the idea. That had hurt like hell, not to mention how terrifying the experience was.
じゃあ、マシな死に方を考える。もっと痛くない死に方。あるいは、痛みと引き換えになるような何かを成し遂げる死に方。
Like if it led to the survival of a young child. Anyway, I'd wager my life. All that remained was finding supporters. So he's probably going to go for Haru. I closed my eyes and took a few deep breaths. I threw a Yakuza kick into the wall. Yakuza, I guess, not Yakuza. Then I did a low kick with the other leg.
ついに尻尾ちうせて玉の扉数破れティアイ空虚の草むらに豚のムクロがシャウトする
As I sang the Buddha's ash rock, whatever in the world that is, I attacked the wall with my ass, which prompted a response from the other side.
うるさい
Oh, hey, Chammy. I heard Chammy's angry voice through the front door.
ちょっと声が笑ってるぞ
あんなん誰だって反応に困るけど
The walls here were thin, apparently.
まあとりあえず明日逃げよっか
Ooh. Of course he's gonna try Chammy too, you know? I think he'll try Haru as well, but, you know, of course he's gonna try to get her to come with him.
どんな流れで何を言い出してるの
それだけツッコミができるなら十分正気でしょう脱出クレイジーゾーンからおさらばしようぜ
あのね、春明さん
僕は本気だ
Still outside my door, she fell silent. It was only about 8. Still a safe time. I walked up to the door and unlocked it.
ひどい顔
そんなに
嘘
何その軽妙なふっかけ彼氏か
君の切り返しも本調子に見えるけどでもそんな仮面の下に超常的苦悩を隠してんだろ全部吐いちゃえよまあ吐かなくてもいいとりあえず座れば
お邪魔します
Alone in an empty room, we sat cross-legged and looked at each other.
今日の宴の内容を教えて結局誰なんだ
もうわかんないというかもう誰でもいい
Wow, she's so quiet. The situation was hopeless. She felt the same way. So far, there wasn't a single lynching with a good reason behind it, and it didn't feel like they'd gotten lucky and killed a wolf.
いっそあの青ビオタンが狼ならなすっきり憎めるのに
匠さんからお墨付きが出てる以上 その可能性はとても低い。
知ってる。
But still. Assuming Yasunaga-kun was actually a wolf, I really doubted he was cold-hearted enough to keep up the act of a human while seeing off his mother to her death. Like Chammy had pointed out, it was best to assume Kaori-san had only done what she did for her son. If everyone died and only one was left, he'd be the victor regardless if he was a human or a wolf. Probably. Whatever the case, it was important to note that it was wrong to guess whether Yasunaga-kun was a wolf based on this alone. I see. So you could argue Kaori's acts, because she had lost her son. She'd gone insane. That's understandable. And he's saying that the act of her trying to kill everyone, you could argue it either way, whether Yasunaga was a wolf or not. I see. Okay. That makes sense. I see now. Okay. And this other thing, again... This statement right here, okay? Assuming Yasunaga-kun was actually a wolf, I really doubt he was cold-hearted enough to keep up an act of a human. Keep up the act of a human. This goes back. I've asked this time and time again. Obviously, we haven't been given an answer yet, so it makes sense we wouldn't know. But just in my mind, I keep wondering, what in the world is a wolf? Like, so... Is it a human that's just been convinced they need to kill? Or is it this weird supernatural creature? So, because here he's saying, Haruaki is saying that Yasunaga-kun feeling grief and showing grief at, seeing his mother put to death, that's a point for him being human. That's what this seems to me, what Haruaki is saying. Assuming Yasunaga-kun was actually a wolf, I really doubted he was cold-hearted enough to keep up the act of a human while seeing off his mother to her death. Because I don't know how to evaluate that. So, say Yasunaga-kun was a wolf. How would a wolf normally react? Would they be able to just callously... If Yasunaga was a kun... pardon me. What I want to know is, for Haruaki, if Yasunaga-kun was a wolf, how would he have expected him to act? Would he, if Yasunaga-kun was just callous and wasn't mourning or sad that his mother was going, but wouldn't that be too obvious? Like, surely the wolf would act that way regardless. Act, as if he was deeply affected. Am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense. That might have just been a ramble that only made sense to me. But this part here, this part, this is valid. This makes sense. Okay. Kaori Oribe was in a messed up mental state that led her to plot the deaths of herself and everyone else just to save her son. It was simply the immense power of motherly love at work. I'd messed it up by sending Haru-chan to the second floor. Kaori-san probably resented me for that. Not to mention I was the one who'd pinned her down. Being the target of a dead person's enmity was a rare experience, and in my opinion, it was uncomfortable.
やっぱ私には無理だったな、春明さんの真似は。
僕の真似？
うん。考えていろいろやってみたけど。
Was I a bad influence on her? Well, carefully deliberating your actions was never a bad thing, obviously. Also, it was worth noting, she pointed out that Yasunaga-kun was trying to guilt trip her. Also, it was worth noting, she pointed out that Yasunaga-kun trying to guilt-trip her wasn't like him. Her own intuition was important too. I did mention this last time, because, you know, we're in the same boat as Haruaki, where we're outsiders here. So it's important to get the actual villagers' knowledge on, you know, their own interpersonal relationships. So, yeah. Besides him, there was Tai-san, who believed nothing but the superstitions, Haru-chan, who always agreed with Yasunaga-kun, and Meiko, the one who sealed Kaori-san's fate.
みんな怪しいな。
だからもう誰でもいい。
Chammy hung her head.
メイコちゃんは助けてやることに決めてるんだけど。
どうやって？ここを出て？無理だって言ってんじゃん。
待ってて確実に死ぬよか良くないか？彼女が狼だったら一人減らせてラッキーかもよ。
なのかな。もうわかんない。人殺しちゃった。
She'd said it casually, but I could tell that was hard for her to say.
君は悪くないさ。
I responded equally casually. I felt like breaking the illusion would be too much to handle.
軽っ。
そもそも君は反対したろ？
一応殺人を止めなかったってことはそれに賛同したってことじゃない？
それは僕も同じだし。
ああ、そっか。
それに異常な状況下で異常な決断をしてしまうことに法はある程度理解を示すんじゃないかな。
I don't know about that. This whole situation seems so crazy and outlandish that I'm not sure how the law would react to this.
法ね
どうにしたってまともな法で裁かれるなら意味不明な山の掟に裁かれるより億倍マシでしょう。それともちえみちゃんはむしろ超常的な死を遂げたいのか？どれも的を外してるってところか。
Man, this was complicated.
神様ってやつのせいか。
半分はそう。
もう半分は説明しづらい。じゃあ神様の方を話してよ。
どう言えばいいのかな。神様は不幸なんだ。
ん？
いや、辞書的な意味で不幸のことをそう呼んでるわけじゃなくて、そのね、神様がいるからどうやっても私たちは幸せになれない。
Huh. That's quite a thing to say.
それは目に見えるもの？
うん。私たちはみんな見てる。でも本質は目に見えないものかも。
Well, what did you see when you saw it?
目に見える部分について聞こう。それは人間？
Though slowly and hesitantly, she gave me a light nod.
それは安水の誰か？
Silence. Neither yes or no.
じゃあ上藤吉の人間？
She kept her silence. Her shoulders were shaking a bit.
違
じゃあ
う、やっぱ違う。人間じゃない。人間をどうしたって神様はどうにもならない。
Ah, shit. I knew it'd go like this.
落ち着いて説明するんだ。じゃないと僕も君もやられる。
いっそ殺してくれればいい。こんなひどい夢とっとと終わらせてほしいのに。ねえ、春明さん、私を殺して。あなたの手なら私死ねる気がする。
This sucks. And this comes right after the episode where she'd finally decided to take a stand too.
何言い出すんだ。しっかりしろ。
私しっかりしてる。私は汚れてなんかない。私は狂ってない。狂ってなんか。おかしいのは藤吉全部よ。おかしいのは神様の方よ。
神様とは状態のことなのか。
I just kind of blurted something out without thinking. Chammy was clearly in a state of panic. The despair was one cause, but someone panicked like this couldn't explain themselves properly. Also, I didn't feel like this was simply some spiritual being she could see. She could perceive God as a sensation of sorts, and the fact others couldn't caused her to panic. Explaining a sense like that wasn't easy, and trying to explain it in detail was also a reminder of how much it scared her. I had to try and understand what she was sensing, and find a better word for it than God. That was what I thought to myself after saying those words, but why did she suddenly go quiet? She was raising her head, and her eyes were wide, staring right at me. She'd completely stopped, voicing her pain. Did I hit the nail on the head? As I considered that possibility, I felt a cold, damp breeze from behind me. She wasn't staring at me. She was staring at something behind me. I turned around, following the direction of her eyes. How long had the front door been open? Had I forgotten to lock the door? And how long had that thing been there? There was a person outside. What was it even human? Through the darkness, I could see that it definitely had a humanoid silhouette, but it was definitely abnormal. Its body was covered in bandages, no sutras. It was a smallish boy or girl, covered in marked cloth. Again, was it even human? I asked the same question again, unable to even voice the words. I couldn't move a finger, or rather, I didn't, because I had no idea what would have happened if I did. As the tension began to overwhelm me, I saw its lips move.
黄泉の匂いに狼は来ある。みそぎ物意味夢見せよ。不死吉の娘。
A howl. I heard something fall. Turning back around, I realized it was Chammy.
ちえみ。
Still confused, I rushed over and caught her. It was a momentary loss of consciousness. She hadn't fainted. She just seemed to be drifting at the border of reality.
おい、しっかりしろ。
私、なんでこの部屋どこ？
さっきのやつは何なんだ。
さっきのおかしいな。なんだろう、眠い。ごめん、帰るわ。
Chammy stood up. Her eyes were utterly devoid of life. She headed to the door. It was closed. There was no one there. I set that matter aside for now. Chammy was way more important. I had to stop her. That was why I
絶対に連れて行く。
wrapped my arms around her.
捨てる命なら僕にくれ。明日の朝、ちえみとメイコを連れてここを出る。
君を連れてじゃないんだ。
That was her first response in a while.
君によろしくお願いされたからね。
その岩最後まで組ませてもらう。
律儀なんだ。
でしょ。実は子供を見殺しにするのは他よりも気分が悪いって打算もあったりするんだ。
悪ぶれてないよ、春明さん。あと、いつの間にか呼び捨てになってる。
嫌だった？
嫌じゃないけど、けじめというか、区切りは欲しいな。
僕と付き合って。
いいよ。
だから一緒に逃げよ
わかった。言っておくけど、一緒に死んでもいいって意味だから。メイコちゃんのことは悪いけどあんま考えてないし。
う。自分に責任持てよ。
ちえみさんどうも脳に問題があるっぽいから、年長者に頼っちゃいたい。
任せろ。あと他に希望者がいたら連れて行くから。
私は特別扱いじゃないんだ。
特別扱いだよ。他は任意だけど、君とは付き合った以上踏んじばってでも連れて行く。
微妙。
知ってるか？僕はモテないんだ。
春明さん、ありがとう。
Her teary voice compelled me to embrace her.
私が今夜狼に殺されたら、
言うな。
私の何でもいいから、どこか一部だけでも外に連れてって。
心配するな。
怖いよ。
僕がいる。僕がいるから。
It hurt to say baseless things. Even so, I kept on saying whatever I could to make her feel better. This went on for only 10 or so minutes, though. Even if the wolves didn't pay us a visit, we'd have to respect the rules of living here. We awkwardly exchanged some parting words, and I saw her off as she returned to her room, her parting ways with a frail smile on her damp face. Tomorrow. Everything would be decided tomorrow. Oh boy. How does one even react to that? Oh man. I think we're gonna do a shorter video today. It would give me time to prepare some things I need to, but also this feels like just a good point to stop anyway. I don't even know how to begin talking about what just happened. So I won't. I'm gonna reflect on this. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go over it again, just so I can really understand what they said and what it said. And then let's regroup. We'll regroup next time and dig into what in the world just happened. Because I don't even know what to say. We'll deal with it next time. Until then, I've been the Worm. This has been Raging Loop, which is continuing to rage, that's for sure. And I hope to see you all next time. Hope you're doing all right.